Have you ever heard of a shrew? What does that mean?
No wonder you didn't want me to go out there.
HBR Talk with Hannah Wallen. We hear a lot from women, not just feminists, but normie women, and even some anti-feminist women, about men's responsibility for women. We're told that it's the job of good men to protect women from bad men. Want to see a convincing disappearing act? Ask one of those screeching harpies who is responsible for protecting men. Boom! All pretense of egalitarianism will vanish right before your eyes. Oh, the misogyny! You can't ask that question. You can't draw a line between good women and bad women. Women are wonderful. Women can do no wrong. What do you expect a woman to do anyway? Women have no power. That's why we have to have laws to protect women, you see. Because men are strong, powerful, competent, and dangerous. And women are innocent, fragile, enticing, and vulnerable. How could it possibly ever be a woman's job to protect men? And from what? Most women expect male bystanders to step in and protect them if they're targeted with violent crime. And most women expect the laws of their community to offer them gender-specific protection against certain types of violent crime. Many even expect men to defend them against attitudes about personal choice that inspire them to feel blamed for being targeted for those types of crimes, but they would never admit this means they're relying on men to do something for them. Would these same women defend a man they knew was falsely accused? Would they protest against laws that infringe on the due process rights of accused men so that false allegations wouldn't be such powerful weapons? Would they even defend men as a population against the misandric attitudes behind such discrimination, or against those that blame falsely accused men's personality traits or associations for making them vulnerable? Don't teach men not to stick their dicks in crazy. Teach women not to go off the deep end. How many women would try to excuse or support that campaign like women did with Teach Men Not to Rape campaigns on university campuses? How many would defend men against the social and legal standards that make them easy targets for false accusers? The Violence Against Women Act turned a quarter of a century old in 2019, when the men's rights movement has criticized its sexist language, discriminatory standards, due process infringement, and its funding of misandric, ideology-based training of law enforcement and court personnel. Non-feminist women didn't all join us. Some do, but the majority want nothing to do with such endeavors. Many are quite content to let lobbyists advocate in women's name for the law's reauthorization every few years with no objection from the general female public. As we talked about last week, it wasn't always this bad. Though there have always been unethical women, there once were at least some social checks and balances. Even though men were still held to stricter expectations, women's reputations at least mattered. Feminists fought long and hard to eliminate standards that held women accountable for ethical use of their social power and, in particular, their influence on men. They were especially adamant about this in regard to women's sexual influence. While feminists are to blame for their own behavior, how much opposition was there from non-feminist women? Today, many, if not most women, assume they have a right to expect good men to protect them, but instead of taking responsibility for not tapping that resource lightly, they also think they have a right to take stupid risks because they can depend on men's protection to shield them from any consequences. They don't even always see men's involvement, often referring to their protectors as society. Today's woman, and again, not just the feminist woman, embraces the argument that she should be able to walk down any dark alley she wants with her butt cheeks flapping in the wind, and for her benefit, predators should just stop existing. When that doesn't happen, there'd better be some men around to protect her at their own risk, or even though she's not responsible for the risk she has taken or the position she's putting those bystanders in, they all share in the predator's responsibility for his behavior. Today's woman knows she can play damsel in distress to motivate men in her community to act against a man she claims has wronged her, all while maintaining plausible deniability for anything they do to him, even if her damsel act was a total lie. After all, those men had a choice, so if they attacked the target she sicked them on, that's not her fault. It's male violence, and you're a misogynist if you try to blame that poor, innocent woman for pulling their heartstrings. Today's woman knows she can support law and policy that act against men in her community in her name while maintaining plausible deniability for anything that happens to them, or even to her own family members, because it was those pesky feminists who lobbied for that law or policy and those pesky legislators and administrators who enacted it. What do they expect her to do about it? After all, everybody knows women have no power and no influence. You're a misogynist for even considering the possibility of thinking otherwise, and even more so for expecting that any woman might use this hypothetical power you so wrongly think she has to fight for unadulterated justice, for equal standards of accountability, and for the protection of men. Last week, we discussed the difference between women who use their social influence as a weapon against men and women who steward their social influence as a resource for their communities. Allison pointed out that as men and responsible women get fed up with unethical ones, that social power will shift and leave those who wrongly exploit it wondering where it went. This week we're back with Karen Strawn to continue examining the role of women in the creation and perpetuation of social and legal standards that affect men and the role women must take in reforming standards that have proven discriminatory and destructive. We stream on multiple platforms. You can tune in to the live stream on YouTube via the link in the low bar, or find other viewing and listening options on honeybadgerbrigade.com.